Olivia Enos is a senior policy analyst for Asia with the Heritage Foundation in Washington. She disagreed.
I mean, this is a typical play out of Beijing's playbook. They are constantly trying to make the laws of China extend to Chinese citizens abroad. And also beyond that, I know there's concern that it would apply to foreign nationals that are in Hong Kong or even speak out against Hong Kong. I think we saw that the new law may have implications for people who shoot off something in favor of Hong Kong protesters or democracy or freedom there just from their Twitter anywhere, that if they were to travel to Hong Kong, they could potentially be held on charges under the new national security law. This is a broad sweeping effect, and I think that this is where the international community needs to be really, really vigilant in safeguarding its own sovereignty of whatever country China is kind of trying to, make it extend to. So this is definitely pernicious, very worrisome. And I think, as I've heard a lot of people saying, self-censorship is the most dangerous form of censorship because you can't measure to what extent it's being done and the effect that it has on the individual. And I think laws that try to extend beyond Beijing's own borders certainly have that type of chilling effect. And we, from the free world, need to communicate that that's completely unacceptable.
So speaking of something that is unacceptable to, the free world, as you put it, what kind of response can other nations have?
Well, the U.S. has already taken steps. Secretary Pompeo decertified Hong Kong's special status that grants it, unique treatment under U.S. law vis-a-vis China. And that was a significant step. It was one that was required by the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act. But there's a lot of latitude and leverage that the U.S. does still have, both from an economic standpoint and from a political standpoint. I think it remains to be seen which aspects of U.S. policy toward Hong Kong will change and how swiftly those changes will take root. But any sort of changes that are considered should be for the purposes of changing the risk calculus of Beijing, of upping the ante so that Beijing doesn't continue to erode freedom in Hong Kong, and so that they know that there are consequences to introducing legislation like the national security law. I think also there are great ways to support the Hong Kong people by looking at various avenues for offering refugee status, like folks in the UK have done, like folks in Taiwan have done, and like folks in Congress are currently considering here in the US. But I think, unfortunately, what's done is done. The die was cast when the national security law was introduced, and I think that's when everybody ominously recognized that one country, two systems was meeting its premature end. But hopefully we can take steps that help to punish Beijing while also helping to safeguard whatever is left, the vestiges of freedom for the Hong Kong people.
Olivia Enos is a senior policy analyst for Asia with the Heritage Foundation.